And it is a Monday, the 1st of March 2021, and this is the Morning Express right here on Starset Channel 500. And also on Facebook, we are Galaxy Universal Network live in Johannesburg from our Midrand studios. Good morning, South Africa and everyone on the African continent. I am Harmony Mbele, and on that note, let us take a look at our 60 minutes rundown of today's headlines and news. We certainly take a look at the opposition response to the easing of restrictions, and certainly let us sanitize our streets of criminality. And those are the news coming in from Bheki Cele, the Minister of Police, and also cops a plea for 24-hour security at PRAS. And those are the news and updates that we have for you this morning right here on the Morning Express. Engage with us on our various social media platforms. On Twitter, we are gun_TV_ so that your opinions and perspectives on the stories we're covering this morning really shed light into the daily live occurrences and what you are going through as a South African. And take a look at our leading story this hour. And we take a look at the Democratic Alliance said it welcomed the announcement that the country will move to lockdown alert level 1, along with the easing of restrictions on alcohol sales, gatherings, and shortening of the curfew. And Steenhuisen emphasized that the sole focus on government and the country should be on the rolling out of comprehensive vaccination programs and rebuilding our economy, and saying that these cannot be substituted with disruptive lockdowns in South Africa. And the Democratic Alliance also went on to say that it is also reminded that crucial and critical, it remained rather critical that the country greatly accelerates its vaccination program, and that government provides clarity on where these vaccines will be coming from and in what quantities and by when. And furthermore, Steenhuisen said that they welcomed the announcements. It was also to be said that if it comes to a late, comes too late for thousands of businesses, for business owners and the employees who have lost their livelihoods due to the ongoing restrictions within our country and due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that Cabinet has approved a move to adjusted level 3 lockdown to level 1, effective later on evening on Sunday, the 28th of February.
The new alert level will come into effect later this evening once the regulations have been gazetted. This will mean that the hours of curfew will now move from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. Second part is that gatherings will be permitted, subject to limitations on size, adherence to social distancing and other health protocols. And these gatherings will include these following types of gatherings: religious, social, political, and cultural gatherings. The other part is that the maximum number of people allowed at any gathering is 100 people for indoor gatherings and 250 people for outdoor gatherings. Where the venue is too small to accommodate these numbers with appropriate social distancing, then no more than 50% of the capacity of the venue may be used. Night vigils or other gatherings before or after funerals are still not permitted. Nightclubs will remain closed. The sale of alcohol will be permitted according to normal license provisions. However, no alcohol may be sold during the hours of curfew. The wearing of masks in public places is still mandatory, in other words, compulsory. And failure to wear a mask when required to do so remains a criminal offence.
And also, as we take a look at more stories happening right here in South Africa, and taking a look at our President Cyril Ramaphosa further going on to say that this move comes as a new daily infections have dropped to around the 1,000 mark in recent days as South Africa comes out of a devastating second wave of infections.
Based on an assessment of the current state of the pandemic in the country, Cabinet, after various levels of consultation with our provinces and metro mayors, Cabinet has decided earlier today to move the country from coronavirus alert level 3 to alert level 1. The new alert level will come into effect later this evening once the regulations have been gazetted. This will mean that the hours of curfew will now move from 12 midnight to 4 a.m. Second part is that gatherings will be permitted, subject to limitations on size, adherence to social distancing and other health protocols. And these gatherings will include these.
And Police Minister Bheki Cele has reminded law members of the law enforcement that law is on their side to respond diversively when confronted by criminals, and repeated the message for police to use deadly force to defend themselves when a need arises. And Cele's message comes after police ministry expressed shock after 2 more police officers were killed in the Western Cape, bringing the total number of police killed in the country in the last 10 days to 6.
Umsebenzi wamaphoyisa ukuvikela aphenye aqikelele ukuthi imphakathi iphephile agcina umthetho bese enforce umthetho to prevent, investigate, protect the inhabitants of the land, uphold the law, and enforce the law. Nango umsebenzi wamaphoyisa. Umsebenzi wamaphoyisa akona ukwenza umthetho. Umsebenzi wamaphoyisa is not to make the law, it's to enforce it. So uma sibizwa ukuthi uphula umthetho, ungacabanga ukuthi sofika esilokhu sikufundisa umthetho.
And according to police reports, 2 officers from the Karfontein police station were ambushed and gunned down in the early hours of Saturday morning while on patrol. And both members died on the scene and were robbed of their official firearms. And these deaths come just days after 4 officers, 3 of whom were off duty, were killed in KwaZulu-Natal. And also the Chatsworth officer, Constable Ndlovu, who was shot and killed while responding to a domestic violence incident, was laid to rest on Sunday.
Move to the left and right, turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, second file, starting from my left, to your place, to your vehicles.
And while delivering the keynote address at the officers' send-off, Minister Cele told mourners that the latest police killings have left those in service shocked and shaken. And he added that while the law lies on the police to prevent, combat and investigate crime, communities have the role to play in flushing out crime, as the criminals committing these crimes are also from these communities, and they also serve to protect and honor their own communities, as they also need to protect their own lives in combat.
An option of finding or not finding them. We have one option. We have one option on this one, but we'll have to find them. dead or alive, would have to find them. Somebody will have to make sure that they surface. If we are lucky, we will have to find out what happened. But if we're unlucky, we might not know what happened. But we should have found them. Whether we hear what happened, whether we don't hear what happened, but the option of not finding them is not one of them. Maybe having not said much on that, I was assured by the Provincial Commissioner that we have some few pointers, and I want to end there for now. That we have some few pointers. I hope those few pointers will lead us where we're supposed to reach, and with immediate effect, we are able to find out and respond and make the families.
And the Congress of the People has called on newly appointed passenger rail service agency Chief Executive Zolani Matthews to lead the restoration of public confidence in the agency, which has been fraught with corruption and mismanagement over the years. And in a statement, the party spokesperson Dennis Bloem said that the Congress is expecting that the first thing that Matthews must do is to reintroduce a 24-hour security service in PRASA after having over years experienced vandalism and arson. And to this effect, Bloem said that the passengers are not feeling safe on trains in its new and rather in its own view that Matthews should immediately restore the rail process, the rail police service. And speaking following the Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula announcement of his appointment at the weekend, the new CEO has said rather to determine together with the new team to work to deliver high quality service and rebuild a stable, financially and procurement modern company that fulfills through its mandate to rather have all people safe when transported through PRASA.
PRASA has not had a permanent group CEO since 2015, before the appointment of last one in 2018, who unfortunately left within a year. Mr. Zolani Khosienzile Matthews has been appointed as the Group Chief Executive Officer of PRASA. He is a seasoned professional with a robust understanding of international and domestic business strategy, who has operated in dynamic, complex and agile organizations. His professional track record over 30 years bears witness to his focus on corporate governance, transparency and value-based organizations. He holds a master's degree in public administration from Harvard University. He is currently employed a full-time counselor of the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA. He also serves as the chairperson of the Ports Regulator of South Africa.
And Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula said PRASA has turned over a new leaf following Matthews' appointment. And he added that Matthews' professional record of over 30 years show his focus on transparency and corporate governance. And the minister explained that his department is working towards ensuring SOEs have the right leadership.
I'm a Minister of Transport. I'm accountable to Ramaphosa. Sorry, we don't want another commission of inquiry by DCJ. We told me no, we don't want that. Africa, please learn. Learn. Today we've got state capture investigation, because it was said ministers are appointed in a shibhile. And but they know what they did to this country. And some of us, we want them. We did rise to the occasion, difficult as it was, that this thing will land this country in big trouble. Today we are spending billions investigating state capture because of our own incompetence and actions. I don't claim to be a knowledgeable guy in what I'm doing, but I draw counsel from the President
And Matthews has outlined his priorities to help turn around the state, the state of the government entity, making sure that all things are going to be happening with accordance and with transparency.
Honourable Minister of Balu, Chairperson of the Board of Control, and members of the Board of Control, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me, if I may, to begin by thanking the Honourable Minister and the Board of Control for the opportunity to serve in one of our most important national strategic entities. I am deeply honoured and humbled by your decision to vest this responsibility in me. We know that delivering reliable and affordable rail and other forms of public transport is central to our economic performance and our project of transformation. There are millions of stakeholders that our performance and operations affect on a daily basis, and our overarching priority is to put passengers at the heart of all we do. All our strategic aims, modernizing, building a service for the future, improving the rail network and organizational capacity, enhancing our reputation for service, and commitment to good governance. These aims are our place cards, the yardsticks by which we will measure our capabilities in meeting the challenges to come. I am determined, together with our team and the Board of Control, to work ceaselessly to deliver a high-quality service and build a stable, fiscally prudent.
And the first edition of News and Updates right here on the Morning Express will be back after this.
Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter. Another one.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
The space race has already started.
Russia had got the first object into space.
The coast is as wild today as it was when Europeans settled the continent.
Enormous beasts with enormous thirst. The teams are primed and ready.
They got the first animal into space, and they got the first person.
Time to see what the boys can do.
Make massive moves with Starside. Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib? But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot! Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Make massive moves with Starside.
And welcome back right here on the Morning Express as we continue to give you all the latest news and updates. Good morning, and I am Harmini Mbele. And motorists will have to dig deeper in their pockets from Wednesday as the price of petrol is expected to increase by 66% per litre, and diesel will go up by 57 cents per litre, and there will be a 49% per litre rise in the price of paraffin. And the Automobile Association said the latest price hikes was due to the increase increased economic activity because of the global rollout of COVID-19 vaccines and also firming demand on oil and subsequently higher prices. And the association later in a bid reminded South Africans to be mindful that the fuel price will already be on the back foot going into April because of the addition of 26% per litre to the general fuel and the road accident fund levies, and also placing further strains on already battered South African consumers.
To becoming a winning country. Since then, we have mourned the passing of nearly 50,000 of our fellow South Africans as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The damage visited upon us by COVID-19 runs deep, and we share in the collective pain of many South Africans who have lost their jobs. All of this notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, we are not without hope. Our national icon, the Nobel laureate Archbishop Desmond Tutu, reminded us that, and I quote, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness," unquote. He observed that sometimes we forget that just beyond the clouds, the sun is shining. The brave and fearless sacrifices of our frontline workers continue to save thousands of lives. We salute all our health care and essential service workers who remain standing at the front line of our struggle.
Coke, burger and chips were the first meal for the extreme adventure Zirk Botha, who rode from Cape Town to Brazil. An ex-naval officer completed his solo transatlantic ocean crossing on his boat Rattle from South Africa to Brazil in a record 70 days, covering a total distance of 7,200 kilometers. And Botha was rowing for the planet and sustainable development. After leaving Cape Town on December the 19th, Botha rowed into a small bay of Búzios, just north of Rio de Janeiro at 3:45 a.m. on Saturday, South African time. And after recuperating in Búzios on Saturday, he rode on to Cabo Frio on Sunday to receive a welcome from the original Rio de Janeiro club, who was rather escorted by boat and welcomed by locals, dignitaries and media. And ironically, none of Botha's family or friends could be at the finish line. South Africa, as South Africans are currently rather blocked from entering Brazil due to COVID-19 related travel restrictions. And in completing the South African transatlantic crossing, he was set world records as the first person to row route alone and unsupported by any safety craft, and from this fastest row from Cape Town to Rio de Janeiro route. Certainly, as we continue with more news right here on the Morning Express, we take a look at our African stories making headlines this morning. Nigeria is about to receive the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines from COVAX, a global scheme set up to procure and distribute vaccines as a country works to contain the pandemic. And the first shipment of 4 million vaccines is expected to arrive in the country this Monday morning. And about 1 year of the most populous African nation recorded its index case on February 27th, 2020. And according to Boss, the Secretary of the Government of the Federation of Chairman of the Presidential Task Force of COVID-19, and Nigeria has recorded a total of 155,417 COVID-19 confirmed cases since its index case. And as an important one, Nigeria, Lagos also recorded its own epicenter within the virus, according to the data from the Nigerian Center of Disease Control on Saturday.
Well, I can assure you that our vaccines are coming, and they are coming very quickly, bearing any change in the delivery plan that has been released to us by UNICEF. Our vaccines are supposed to like I said, bearing any change, because the logistical arrangements and other things are in the hands of the UNICEF. We believe that our vaccines should depart India on the 1st of March 2021 at 10:30 p.m. in the night and arrive Abuja on the 2nd of March 2021 at about 11:10 a.m. in the morning. So we're making preparations for that, but the truth about it is that as we receive the vaccines, this one is coming from the COVAX facility. About 4 million doses of vaccines are coming from the COVAX facility on this one trip. We're supposed to have about 60 million in the first quarter.
And he said that the country expects to receive about 16 million in the first quarter from COVAX facilities, while by the time they supply all the range, they are expecting that they will supply about 84 million doses of the COVAX facility, which is free of charge and will cover about 20% of the Nigerian population. And according to the Nigerian government, and also has another source of more than 40 million doses of vaccines coming in from the African Union's African Vaccine Task Team that will make sure that all things are distributed fairly within the African continent.
Expecting that they will supply about 84 million doses from the COVAX facility, which is free of charge and is supposed to cover about 20% of the Nigerian population. We also have another source of vaccines coming in from the AVAT facility, which is the African Vaccine Action Team. We are expecting about 41 million of that, a combination of AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. Everything we are expecting from the COVAX facility, I believe, is going to be the AstraZeneca, which has a good range in terms of storage for us, because it uses just +2 to +8% of refrigeration. It doesn't come with any complication. We already have that cold chain available in virtually all the local governments and constituencies and wards in this country. I believe we are well prepared to receive our vaccines, and I hope that they keep to this time frame that they have given us, and we are eagerly expecting vaccines. But I must caution Nigerians that it is going to be a combination of vaccines with the non-pharmaceutical measures. And the non-pharmaceutical measures will remain in place, the wearing of masks, the keeping of social distancing, the need for personal hygiene, and taking responsibility to ensure that we do not congregate in large gatherings and avoid travels if it is not necessary. Wish us well, and by the time we get our people vaccinated between 2021 40% and 2022 30%, a combination of cumulative number.
And certainly, as we continue with more news and updates after the ads.
Make massive moves.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine.
It's important for us to remember.
And I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
The space race has already started.
Russia had got the first object into space.
The coast is as wild today as it was when Europeans settled the continent.
Enormous beasts with enormous thirst. The teens are primed and ready.
They got the first animal into space, and they got the first person.
Time to see what the boys can do.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
And welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us right here on the Morning Express. As we continue with more news and updates, on the line I get to be joined by Neo Lekgodi, a political analyst who's really going to allow me to converse with him on all things happening with our presidency, our politics in South Africa, and obviously the alert level 1 that was announced last night by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Good morning, Mr. Neo Lekgodi. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, and also good morning to all the viewers of Galaxy Universal Network.
Thank you very much. I think let's get right into it. I mean, taking a look and taking into consideration, even with all things happening with the alert level 1 introduced by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night, even taking into account the letter written by the economic freedom fighters to him, really asking so that he opens for that the political engagements can really commence, looking into the voting stations that need to be open, the campaigns that they need to do. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Yes, I think this is one of those interesting times we are in, particularly in 2021, when one looks at the coming elections. Should the final decision be taken that it stands or not, it's going to be very challenging, particularly for various opposition parties.
Yes.
I think at this moment, the ANC is having a very good chance as far as local elections are concerned, because what COVID-19 did is that it has neutralized all opposition parties. It's difficult to actually pick out a single opposition party that we can say it is growing stronger amid the pandemic, So one will understand why the EFF will be so much concerned about campaigning for the elections. As for the ANC does not necessarily need campaigning this time around, because the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa is now centered around COVID-19, and depending on the narrative that is available to the public, one can safely say majority are in agreement that his administration is doing better in handling the virus. But just to compare to what country, I don't know, particularly if one could compare South Africa to the rest of other African countries. However, the narrative spread is that South Africa is doing well. That is the public narrative that is spread through the media. So when you want to look at those kind of challenges, it's really not looking good for opposition parties should the election stand this year. I think the ANC, this might be one of the years whereby the ANC are just cleaning everything. We'll just have a clean sweep as far as votes are concerned, because opposition parties are actually neutralized. They have no stand, they have no voice whatsoever amidst COVID-19. And when you check the president's speech last night, you realize that he still maintained a tight grip on public gatherings, which is also another negative thing towards opposition parties, because with only 100 people allowed to gather publicly, so with indoors, and only a mere 250 together, that does not do anything for people like EFF. Remember, people like EFF, those are the fill-up guys. The EFF is the fill-up party. They like filling up stadiums and so forth. So 250 outdoors does not do anything for them. So it's going to be a very challenging year should we have local elections.
Definitely, but Mr. Neo Lekgodi, let us take into consideration, as much as we are mentioning that the year of 2021, 2020, even in governance of the African National Congress has been about COVID-19 and making sure that we do get the vaccine. But even looking at the likes of Esma Khashule, Jacob Zuma's really painting a certain picture within the ANC. Do you think that they even stand a good chance, even with those corruption charges looming within the ANC, also striking a concern to mere South Africans that understand the game of politics, even with what is happening within courts, within the former President Jacob Zuma not wanting to appear before the State Capture Commission, even with or seeing already the Minister of Police, Begitel, also going to plea with him. How are those things going to affect the African National Congress when they do go into our voting polls in the coming few weeks?
It is important that the viewers understand that the PR strategy from the Ramaphosa team managed to isolate President Ramaphosa from all corruption, and also paid Zuma and his friends, which will include the likes of Mahashule, painted Zuma and his friends to be the corrupt ones. So as it stands now in the court of public opinion, it is the saint or the Messiah, Cyril Ramaphosa, doing everything in his powers to get rid of corruption. Hence, we have seen the likes of Zuma being dragged to conditions and the likes of ACE going in and out of court. So in public opinion, the current ANC president is well on track, is doing very well against corruption. Against corruption. And we have seen for the first time since last year, since particularly the COVID-19 broke out, we have seen the Hawks also playing some PR stunts. Whenever they will go and arrest these high-profiling ANC people who are for Zuma, they will go with cameras, and their arrest will be made all over. Will be all over social media, which is something very unique. We haven't seen that before, but they're doing it more strongly now, which shows the strategy, the PR strategy that the Cyril Ramaphosa camp is having, and it's working quite effective for them. So as far as corruption is concerned, a layperson in the public is still struggling to differentiate between ANC corruption and Zuma's corruption. So a lot of people are not calling it ANC corruption, they are calling it Zuma's corruption. They believe it's all about Zuma, it's all about Kunta. And the narrative is further being fed by the likes of Mmusi Maimane, who yesterday also threatened that he's having more files to open today regarding Kunta and Zuma. So if everyone associates corruption with Zuma, and that exonerates Ramaphosa and makes him to be MSI.
Well, with that being said already, but take us a look into also taking consideration and a really immense perspective into all things happening within the ANC, the division that they have. Does that really play a big role within the public eye, noting that Ace Magashule, the president, the former president Jacob Zuma, even the current president Cyril Ramaphosa, those divisions, don't they play a big role in the public eye at this point?
Yes, I think the one of the best things that President Cyril Ramaphosa is going to ensure is that he avoids public gatherings, because if he can allow public gatherings, it is easy for Ace Magashule to go down to the branches. It is easy for Ace Magashule to go to those campaigns and and try to win support within the ANC structure. I think that's what he's holding on to. If he can just get if he can just reach out to the ANC structure. So the banning of public gatherings are denying him that opportunity to go and parade himself in various provinces, which is good for the divisions within the ANC, because it means the Cyril Ramaphosa camp is gaining more power and the Zuma Magashule camp is weakening by day because they don't have access to the masses. I think that is what the ANC is looking for, that Magashule must not have access to the masses. As long as he doesn't have access to the masses, then the confusion around the issue will be what they read on the newspapers, that Magashule is corrupt, whether being found guilty or not. What will remain is that it's corrupt based on public media. So the division are not going to affect ANC as such, because remember, the ANC does not. The ANC voters don't necessarily vote by logic. They don't necessarily vote by logic. Yes. I mean, it was in 2009 or 2008. We voted for President Zuma to be president while he was facing 700 and something charges of fraud and corruption, also including the rape allegations. So it has never been the issue of logic or morals when coming to ANC voters. So even this time around, I don't think those corruptions or any other divisions are not going to affect them, because the divisions that have been spread is that Ramaphosa fighting corrupt people.
Well, certainly those are perspectives that we really like to engage on right here on the Morning Express. Thank you very much, Mr. Neulu Khori, for joining us right here on the Morning Express.
Thank you so much for this.
Certainly. Well, with more news and updates are coming up after this.
Make massive moves.
Isn't that your daughter's bib?
But the truth is, I feel like Arabella's always with me.
Don't you ever forget this man's face. He killed your brother.
Don't shoot! Please don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Make massive moves with Starsat.
I want you to eat healthy food because it's delicious.
Make massive moves.
Would you like another one?
I love it.
I love this too. This is amazing. The grits are so creamy. Oh.
I take pride in my grits.
So flavorful.
I think that looks wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Wow. Let's go.
Come on, we can be back by morning.
Who are you?
I'm the boss.
Really?
Really?
Yeah! Awesome! Totally! Yeehaw! Very funny.
Make massive moves with StarSat.
And welcome back from the ad break. Thank you very much for joining us right here on the Morning Express. As we take a look at news further afield, taking a look at the United States, former President Donald Trump gave his first speech since leaving office at the United States President at the Conservative Conference in Florida. And it comes just weeks after he was acquitted during an impeachment trial, which saw some members of his own Republican Party vote against him.
CPAC, do you miss me yet? Do you miss me? A lot of things going on. To so many wonderful friends, conservatives, and fellow citizens in this room and all across our country, I stand before you today to declare that the incredible journey we begun together, we went through a journey like nobody else. There's never been a journey like it. There's never been a journey so successful. We began it together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over.
And Trump, who declared himself the dominant figure within the fractured Republican Party and attacked President Joe Biden in the first major appearance since leaving the White House nearly 6 weeks ago, told the conference he would not be starting a new political party.
To each and every one of you here at CPAC, I am more grateful to you than you will ever know. We are gathered this afternoon to talk about the future of our movement, the future of our party, and the future of our beloved country. For the next 4 years, the brave Republicans in this room will be at the heart of the effort to oppose the radical Democrats, the fake news media, and their toxic cancel culture. Something new to our ears, cancel culture. And I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We will do what we've done right from the beginning, which is to win. We're not starting new parties. You know, they kept saying, he's going to start a brand new party. We have the Republican Party. It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party. That was fake news. Fake news, no. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Let's start a new party and let's divide our vote so that you can...
And he repeated his false claims that he won the November's election and hinted at another run in 2024, saying that he might even decide to beat them a third time.
You know what I've always said? Walls and wheels, those are two things that will never change.
And Mr. Trump strongly criticized his successor, Democrat Joe Biden, saying that the U.S. policy had gone from American and to all things happening within the first to American lost. It went from rather America first to America lost.
Joe Biden has had the most disastrous first month of any president in modern history. That's true.
And also, Mr. Trump strongly claimed his successor, Democrat Joe Biden, the Conservative Political Action Conference in Orlando represented his continued influence over the Republicans.
I'll give you the 3-second sneak peek. You're going to like it a lot. Jim, take it away.
Thank you very much, Tim and Charlie. That was great. And I'll tell you something. We were the ones that were crazy enough in 2016 to actually say on the Sean Hannity show, the Friday before Election Day, that President Trump was actually going to win. And let me tell you, we got attacked by the media like you wouldn't believe, and I'm sure when they see the results of this, but I can tell by it, our poll was right by what we got. But without further ado, let's have some fun. I think, unfortunately, this poll is probably going to trigger a lot of the media again. What's the most important issue that's facing the country today? And by the way, this is an issue the press is trying to tell us there's nothing to see here. Remember, we allowed you to select 3 choices. 62% said election integrity, 48% constitutional rights, and 35% said immigration, the wall, and 32% said reopening the economy. Whoops. There we go. When it comes to former President Trump's issue agenda and policies, which of the following comes close to your own personal opinion? 95% of you want to continue his policies and agenda.
And the mood of the conference so far had been extremely pro-Trump, with loyalists including Texas Senator Ted Cruz and his son Donald Trump Jr. amongst the speakers.
He's going to do it because he knows it's we the people that make this country special. People with common sense who work hard. He knows that. He was willing to go fight for us, and that's why the left wants to cancel him. And we can't let it happen. Look, President Trump is the leader of the conservative movement. He's the leader. President Trump's the leader of the conservative movement. He's the leader of the America First movement. He's the leader of the Republican Party. And I hope leader of the conservative movement, the leader of the American First movement, the leader of the Republican Party, and I hope on January 20th, 2025, he is once again the leader of our great country. Our charge.
Certainly, with more news and updates after this.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Another one.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
Anger boils over in El Dorado Park.
Make massive moves.
Corruption allegations have hit too close to the office of the president.
America is crying out for leadership.
I'm the president and you're fake news.
Donald Trump has already started his attacks.
It is clear from the development of the disease.
But it's still the biggest annual decline in 100 years.
Make massive moves with Starsat.
This is just the beginning.
Make massive moves.
Get out! Get out of this place!
I love you. Do you love me?
Yes.
I like this.
Someone stole from me yesterday.
It was not my fault now. Eh?
Leave me alone! Blast your head!
No, don't shoot, sir, please! Please don't kill us. I'll give you anything you want.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
Bible is human and divine. It's important for us to remember, and I'm part of God's story.
Yeah, mama, mama, hey.
God is healing you.
God says what he means, and he means what he says.
God is good.
I am very grateful to God. I am healed. Amen.
Make massive moves with Starsat. Make massive moves.
And welcome back right here on the Morning Express as we continue with more news and updates. On the line, I get to be joined by Mr. Tapiwa Diamond, our African news correspondent, political correspondent rather, right here on the Morning Express. Good morning, Tapiwa Diamond. Thank you very much for joining me.
Good morning, sir. How are you? And good morning to the viewers and listeners of Galaxy TV.
Certainly, but let's get right into it, Mr. Tapiwa Tama. There are two aspects that I'd like us to converse about, taking into consideration the vaccine that is to arrive within Nigeria this morning, it being Monday, and also what is the entire holistic feel with people within our African continent with regards receiving the vaccine.
So, well, there is a lot of myths which are surrounding the virus and the vaccine when it comes to the African continent, primarily because the governments of Africa have been failing to fully address the issue of vaccine. The governments of Africa have not been able to probably have enough systems, healthcare systems in place for them to be able to cater for their own people. Bear in mind, already before we speak of COVID, the government have been struggling with TB, the government has been struggling with malaria, cholera, just things that can be, health issues which can be prevented. But with most of the governments in Africa grappling with these, it then makes it even more complicated for the people to trust the issues of the vaccine. If we go into the country of Zimbabwe, where the issue of mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations has not gone to these heights, the people in the country and the doctors have not been going to get this voluntary vaccinations, and the government came out over the weekend through its president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, saying that they could instill mandatory vaccinations. And obviously the doctors fear that the move would erode confidence in the vaccine within the people of the country.
Certainly, but also I think there's a lot of things to be mentioned within our African continent, but slightly moving to ECOWAS Ebola outbreak. What is happening within the African continent? Take me through that.
So there's been another outbreak in Africa. Look, in Africa, we are never short of any pandemic. You know, if we go into the ECOWAS region, we have had the Ebola virus, especially in the country. Guinea is one of the countries which has been affected. And what the World Health Organization has been trying to do is to try and pledge support for Guinea by helping it to procure the Ebola vaccine, which would help the country to prevent the recurrence of the outbreaks. You know, the DRC is also affected, and the teams of the WHO are already on the ground helping to ensure that infection prevention and control in health facilities and other key locations, as well as reaching out to the communities with that district. You know, once again, in Africa, we are hit by the Ebola virus. This is not the first time, but it has been going on and on for a very long period of time. Liberia, Sierra Leone, you know, we speak of Guinea, the DRC. Look, we have had this disease for a very long time, and the government have not put in place enough machinery to curb the outbreak of this disease. So now they then expect the people of Africa to put so much trust when it comes to the issue of COVID-19, to trust the government in having ways and means to alleviate this. That is why the people don't trust the government officials when it comes to the issues of the diseases, the viruses which are affecting Africa.
Certainly, but I think there's a lot of things really happening within the African continent. But let us bring it back home to ask you a question that you might have really thought about this morning is, should political parties institute debate ahead of the upcoming local general elections in South Africa?
Well, I didn't get the last part of your question.
In terms of should political parties institute debate ahead of the upcoming local general elections in South Africa?
So the issue of debate is very key, and it is very critical because it brings in different political parties on the table where they debate about political, social, and economic issues on the table. You know, it then means that people are able to know and address the issues that they want. It gives the political parties the ability, the platform for them to create a dialogue between the political leaders and the community. Because in politics, we have the leaders and those who are led, and democracy calls for the intertwining of decisions, ideas, and aspirations between the people and those who are led. Those who are going to lead the people are given the mandate from the community, and that is how we end up having the ward-based planning, community-based planning, which then becomes the IDP of the country. So there is a need of a relationship between the leaders and the people in the community. Unfortunately, the issues of proportional representation in the South African context when it comes to the election. It does put the country at the back foot in terms of having leaders to account to the people that they are leading.
Certainly, and I think there's a lot of, we could dissect this conversation very, very, very much, but I think we've run out of time at this point. But thank you very much for joining me. I do hope that to converse with you later on in the week.
Thank you for having me. Keep well and stay blessed.
Thank you very much. You too, Mr. Diamond. Well, for Galaxy News from the Morning Express desk, I am Harmin Mbele. Good morning.